Okay, students, here we are, English 12A. We're looking at January 9th. And oh, look at this. The October 31 calendar is a little bit off a few days there. Let's get back there to January 9th. Should be around 12:31. And during the course of this week, should be able to make it through from 12:31 all the way through 12:35. And remember, next week, Monday, this meeting doesn't exist. We'll try to get a recording because next Monday we are not here in session. That is Martin Luther King Jr. holiday, and as a result, there are no classes on Monday. So we need to um, get that taken care of for you so you have it and you can review it ahead of time. But 12:31 through 12:35. Okay, so next Tuesday you'd be on 12:36. So connecting up to 12:3, and it takes a second to get there. So these first 5 items: neoclassic period pretest, the roots of neoclassicism, John Milton, neoclassicism 1, and neoclassicism 2. And this is going to be the quickest way for me to explain what you need to do. Go to mywirelessclassroom.us because click on class downloads and then you have English 12A. You can see these quizzes, all 4 of these mastery tests right here. Now the numbering on here is a little bit different than what you have there, and I didn't want to screw them up. But the roots of neoclassicism, John Milton, neoclassicism 1, neoclassicism 2. These are reviews of the specific quizzes. Watching these prior to your doing the mastery will let you know, even before you even go through the specific quiz, or I mean the tutorial, this is what you want to take a look at. Because they'll give you all 10 possible questions that you're going to have on or in the class. The one area that I want to concentrate right now is the roots of neoclassicism. So it's going to take a second for this to get up. We'll see about getting right into that here. And it's taken and of course it's taking its sweet time loading up, so I'm going to put it in a different page to see if that helps it. And it's trying to connect. And look at the view assignment curriculum. Here we go. It's still rotating and does the rotation. And here we go. We're going to take a look real quickly at the content here because you got to have an understanding of the roots before you go any further. And if you've been having problems the videos loading, let me know. I know I personally have, but Origins of Neoclassicism. Firefox as my particular browser. So that's part of the Mozilla is not connecting or working right. That's why we always recommend you should be utilizing Chrome because it's probably the best. If you're using an Apple product for class, Safari, and you can always download a Chrome to work on there. But want to go through and just touch on some important things that you need to remember as you go through the rest of this course. Now, neoclassicism is basically from about 1730 to about 1798. And here is where this is so important. Each time we have a new age in literature or a new thought, it's because the previous thought, people were satisfied to a point, but they're always looking for improvement. The world is changing very quickly at this time. So be a student of history to understand these periods of literature. What is going on in the world? In 1620, what's happening in the United States? We're getting the pilgrims. They're coming over from England and other parts of Europe. 1607, which was the height of Shakespeare, we were just starting to see people leave England and the first colonies being settled in the States in 1607 with Jamestown. So remember what the world is like and how the ideas and thoughts. But 1798, we were already, or when I say we, the United States was already a country. So this time period is from the time when the first pilgrims were coming over to the time of George Washington and John Adams being president. There's a lot of items going on in there. Okay. And in the 1800s, things change again, and you'll get that in the next courses that you go into. But this is a reaction to the Renaissance. And Renaissance basically believed humans were good. In neoclassicism, you see something completely different. And I'm going to pause for a brief second. Coming back from the pause, and it's nice I can do that because, sometimes, I get these coughing fits and you got to stop for a second. And I don't think you wanted to hear me cough, did you? Really? Come on. Anyways, so Renaissance philosophers, this is the key item here. Greek humans basically good and have boundless potential for intellectual and spiritual growth. And spiritual growth is one item that you have to be aware of. Why did the pilgrims come to the United States? They were being spiritually repressed. Their religion, they were being persecuted for it. Also, beginning about this time, 1605, we had the gunpowder plot. We see that the throne, in England, their attempts to plot against it, there's civil war, there's unrest, so a lot of change that is going on. And importantly, when we get into the next course in 12B, it's this unit that really influences everything else that we have in literature. You might say, well, how can that be? Well, it's like this. The ideas and thoughts. People like Voltaire, who you're going to read his book in the next course, they are of this belief that there is the best of all possible worlds. There's this idea of optimism that man can do different things, and it's because of our abilities. Man exists, and because of our abilities, man becomes better. That we're having to be aware of is that also at the same time there's the opposite that we have to be aware of. Okay, early neoclassical writing, this item right here, believed humans are flawed, is very important. When we get into the Romantic era, which is the early 1800s, and then we get into the next area, the era of the Victorians, we're going to hear a lot about believe humans are flawed, especially when we look at some of the Gothic literature that comes to that period of time. Okay. You will see the basic elements of clarity, concise wording, and balance remained important elements throughout this movie. Remember, as we were looking at previous writings, I know of quite a few of you had difficulty in understanding the material because it sounded foreign, or it was like there was so much information there, Mr. I didn't understand it. Now things are simple. It used to be a lot more complex. John Donne, who's a writer in this period of time, he actually has a 6-word poem talking about he and his wife's divorce. And it goes something like this: John Donne, Anne Donne, undone. Can't get more concise than that, folks. So, religion playing a big part of what's going on. Remember what happened at the height of the Elizabethan age? You know, we had the Church of England had been formed. The Catholic Church was persecuted. You have Catholic and Protestant monarchs. You have a lot of religious change, and you will continue to see this playing a part of British society. Also, this is the time of the Reformation. You know, Martin Luther had posted his 95 Theses, and for those that are very much aware, we are now in the 500th anniversary of the posting of those theses. Minnesota has a very large Lutheran population, so many students in this class may identify with what's going on as they practice the Lutheran faith. For those that are not Lutheran, you might be Catholic, or you practice Islam, or maybe you don't even practice a religious faith, which is, any of these are okay. I want you to understand is, in our culture, religion does influence what goes on. When you have people that have a particular belief, and it doesn't have to be religion, it could be a belief about technology, it could be a belief about science, it could be politics. Look at the Democrats and Republicans. My side is the only side. That's correct. Think about it. What happens to the other opinions or ideas? Well, I like to point out a guy by the name of James Madison, who was president of the United States in the 1800s. He was one of the framers of our U.S. Constitution. He is regarded as someone who's very instrumental, yet you don't hear about a whole lot nowadays, in the United States government and the forming of it. And one of the reasons why is he always looked at both sides. So if there was an argument, he looked at each side of the argument to see what were the major points, what were the least major points, or what we call minor points. What were good arguments, what were poor arguments, so that he could have an understanding of what is going on, because influence determines how people think. Just take the past political election cycle. You know, Donald Trump, Hillary is a crook. A lot of people believed Hillary's a crook. Has she ever been convicted of a crime? Has she ever been arrested for a crime? You know, crooks in my day and age were people who robbed others. Well, according to some people, they think Hillary was robbed of the election. So how could that be that she's a crook? See where I'm coming from? So have an open mind as you go through to understand. I'm going to go real quickly right back to take a look at the timeline, because it influences what people do. William Shakespeare, a lot of people did not know, still do not believe. Here is William Shakespeare, and we're going to come back to the reign of Elizabeth I. One of the big writers of the age was part of the Queen's men. Okay, he was looked upon as favor. He earned his money from the monarchy. They gave him money to write. Okay. Elizabeth supported the Church of England. And at the time, both Catholics and non-Anglican or non-Church of England Protestants were often persecuted. Shakespeare was baptized in a Catholic church. So how can it be that, and we don't know if he was still practicing Catholicism, but back in that day, if you were even baptized in a Catholic church and then converted, you were still looked upon unfavorably. Like, you might be a convert, but we're not going to completely trust you. So see what goes on? See now how all of a sudden you have to think differently. And that's what you need to do in this unit. Have an understanding of how people were thinking.
Puritans adopted the basic principles of Calvinism.
What these writers are doing and what these writers are thinking. If they want to be popular, they have to write towards a perceived audience. We're now seeing people having better access to material to read. More and more people are being educated. We still have a predominantly male-educated society, but you're starting to see some females being educated. But this, you'll notice, very heavily male-influenced. Okay? So you have all this that you have to. Ben Jonson, as you look here, a bricklayer like his father. He fought in the army. What you will also see for some of these people is that they were influenced by family who were clergy, or they themselves were part of the religious sect of clergy. Also need to know Oxford, Cambridge, these are highly renowned and regarded universities, even to this day in England and across the world. These are also set up as religious institutions.
In 1605, Johnson was
Now, he was considered to be a suspect in the gunpowder plot. This is where Guy Fawkes and his cronies attempted to blow up Parliament with the king in it. He said, he was a royal spy. And notice what I said earlier about Shakespeare. Here, Johnson earlier had converted to Catholicism. So now you know what I'm getting at. You got to have a little bit of an understanding of who these people are.
Johnson's poetry.
Very important for you to understand. In your notebook, I have listed keywords, items like epigram. You need to have these or understanding of these because you're going to be asked about them on the mastery test or mastery.
On my first song, 12.
Okay. He writes items that are close. Now, it's 12 lines. It's too long short of being a sonnet. Remember, sonnets were the way during the Renaissance to write poetry. And now all of a sudden we're having changes. So there's a break of what's going on. You're starting to see people change and have.
Song, Cecilia. Although Song to Cecilia is stylistically similar to On My First Son.
Notice the word tone. Tone. The sound items are starting to be different. So beware of that. And here we still have the influence of the ancient Greeks, similar to what was going on in the Renaissance. So it's not a complete break, but it's similar in some.
At first glance, poem Song to Cecilia.
Now remember, when you go through different items, tutorials, such, when you write materials out, you can submit. It's not going to come to me. What I suggest is that you can print or you can view the answer key, and when you submit, it will give you in this case, it's silly, you got to put something in there. So I'm going to submit. You would get a sample answer that would show up there. Okay. John Bunyan's another author.
The Pilgrim's Progress.
Family. Pilgrim's Progress. Here. And that's utilized. It's very steep, very spiritual, and it's based on the Bible, the Christian Bible. Okay. A lot of symbolism in what's going on. Life is a journey. You've ever heard of the magazine Vanity Fair? And recently it was in the news because Vanity Fair is a magazine who made a scathing report on President-elect Trump's one of his hotels restaurants. The title of Vanity Fair comes from the Pilgrim's Progress. So be aware of that. And, this is an allegory. So a lot of symbolic meaning, a lot of items that you connect to even today. And then, of course, you have a table here. You got connect. You'll be asked questions and such. And then, as I said earlier, and you can always print this information and save it to your notebook. Okay? So that is about the roots of neoclassicism. I would suggest, sorry about that, I had to do a quick pause. Just to let you know, once again, you do have up on mywirelessclassroom.us, you do have those mastery tests that you can review on there. I would just take a look at them before you do it. Note that the neoclassic period is very important. Take a look at the materials that are brought here. Utilize the different items that are made available for you to have an understanding. If you have specific questions in here, let me know. Send me a note and I'll try to get them answered for you as soon as possible. It is a crazy time of the year. We're getting towards the end. Teachers are not only, trying to wrap things up for the first semester, also trying to get things ready for the second semester courses. Look forward to hearing from your news and notes. Remember, mywirelessclassroom.us. Great resource, materials, and it's a way to help you work smarter, not harder. Until next time, have a great day.